Okay. All right, so we started the other day a Maimer Shaftamayim B'Sas in the first Maimer, which was interesting. Yesterday's Hayom Yom. So we started off with Shaftamayim B'Sas in Ma'anei Yeshua that by Nisach HaMayim, by Simchas Beis She'eva, they used to draw the water with joy from the Ma'ayone of the salvation. So the Alter Rebbe explained that by Yom HaShmini, it says on the seventh day, Atzeret Tzilachem. What does that mean? That the entire year they would bring karbonis on the Mizbeach, different types of karbonis, and there would be a fire, the Mila, that looked like a Aryurevetz, a crouching lion, and would consume the karbonis. And the Chag Succos, they would also pour wine on the Mizbeach. Nisach HaMayim was all 7 days, but on Shmini Atzeres, that would stop. Now, I explained in Aveda, what does that mean? That we don't have a Mizbeach nowadays, we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, so everybody has to find all these levels of karbonis in their neshama, and every generation a person has to look and realize about this fire that comes and consumes the karbonis. Now, what does that mean? So he said that the tefillas we daven nowadays is corresponding to the Timidim Tiknum, and what does that mean in Aveda? So we say Aveda Shebelev is davening. The leiv, the heart, corresponds to the Mizbeach, and just like the Mizbeach, there's two levels. So just like in the heart, just like in the Mizbeach, there was two levels. There was two Mizbeachas. The Pnimi and the Chitz, and so too in the heart there's two levels. You have the Chitzeni Salev and the Pnimi Salev. And we said, and just like they would bring on the Mizbeach HaChitzin, they would bring the Parim, the Elim, the Kvasim, so too we have to arouse in our natural love that the Eibishter gave us to be Megala, the Eishmel Maila, to burn the karbonis, and then the Alter Rebbe explains it's like what the pasuk says: "Achri Hashem yilchu k'arya yishig," that I run after Hashem was like a roaring lion. That we have to remember that this ava that a person has, by remembering the whole time, he doesn't want to be separated from Hashem. Like it says, Ki Hashem and he burns all the. What does it mean, burning the karbonis? It means anything which is not to Hashem. Now, and that's why you're not allowed to eat before davening, because when a person eats before davening, which is basically on the same level as the bread, so then it's very likely that the bread will consume him. But once a person is properly davening, and then he's higher than the bread, then he can consume the bread. And then we say that's the avodah of tefillah, is to burn the daggers of parnasa. To have a person to work, that's you get kapech yisechel, but this constant worry that a person has to get rid of. Okay, let's. We start a little bit. We started Beis. Right, and then we said in Beis, that even though there's a fire that comes with Mailam and Hashemayim, there's a mitzvah lahavim in the hedyet. And what does that mean in Avodas Hashem? So Hashem says Hashem is called Zerei Tzedakos and Matzmiach Yeshuos, and he explained that with the pasuk of with my right Smoila is under my head. Meaning, with my right hand, I hug you. So what does that mean? So this is the love of Chesed Re'emina. Yimin Mekareves, that all the Nitzutzos and Neshamas become one with Hashem. Like a person who hugs himself, he hugs his friend, he doesn't want to leave go of him. So too, that the level of the Yimini Techapkeni is that he has this Avarab, but he doesn't want to be separated from Hashem. But in order to be zeicha to this level, so you first have to have the hachana of smoile tachas l'reishi. What does that mean? That he pushes himself down, and he thinks in his heart how he's very distant from Hashem, and not chas v'shalom that Hashem is going to push you away, because we know ki lo yidach min nidach. And then what happens is smoile tachas l'reishi, that this idea it is nishtalshel back to tachas l'reishi, that when a person thinks very deeply into his heart of where he's holding, and how much he held highly of himself, and now he contemplates and he realizes how distant he is from Hashem, and that's why all the viduim on Yom Kippur we say sararnu. In other words, we put ourselves down, and these arouses in us a tzemayin to the Eibishter. And with this hachana, we can come to the level of avarab of Chag Succos, and this is what it means Zerei Tzedakos. Okay, I think this is where we stopped yesterday. Okay, the other day. Fine. All right, you want to say that? Okay. So we said this is what it means. Zerei tzedakos umatzmiach yeshuos. So what does it mean? Zerei tzedakos, Hashem plants kindness. Zo zerei tzedakos. K'hinei Knesset Yisrael nikras b'shem tzedakah. The Yidden are called tzedakah. Hashem apasuk. The pasuk in Yeshaya says, "B'tzedakah tekoinoni." Fine. So the Yidden are called tzedakah. But I'm called Yisrael amatim leim. It's tzedakah v'chesed. The Yidden down over here are full of tzedakah and chesed. Now, Aser Simei Tshuva is the idea of planting. Just like when you plant the seed, so you have to plant it on dust which is plowed, or I should say on ground which is plowed. However, a very difficult offer that won't plant at all. So all to the stuck in the chesed that a yid does a whole year, so it's impossible for the tzedakah to take effect, to have any effect, if you don't have the level of aser semitzvah, which means you break your heart with you make yourself very, very low, like dust or ground which is plowed, like charisha, the marpe arda, which the ground is very soft. Okay, we did this already also a little bit the other day. We see when a person gives tzedakah, a person won't give tzedakah properly unless he makes himself like dust. If he thinks highly of himself, only give a little bit. He won't give substantially. He has to break his desires in his heart, which come from arrogance. A person has to think to himself, why is my blood redder than his blood? This is really where we stop. Now, so between Yom Kippur and Succos, those days is the level of tzmicha, is the day of growing. So from the Avodah from Yom Kippur to Succos, that's the idea of tzmicha, until on the first day of Succos you grow to the level of Avram, which is Chesed Elyon, B'chinas v'yiminoi techapkeni anal. Gam B'chinas amalas Avram, U'ayidei she'amar, what did Avram, what was his mile? He said, Ma'anoichi ofer ve'efer, I'm like dust and ashes. Ha'inu B'chinas ofer shezerim boi u'matzmiach kanal. So that's the level of this planting, which we spoke about before. So matzmiach Yeshua is, and this is what it means. He's matzmiach Yeshua is Adel Mashukosov. The pasuk in Tehillim says Hoishia Yimincha, that you saved Yimincha, the right hand. Kiniksi, what does the pasuk say in Echa? Hashiv Ocher Yiminei. Shebchinas Chesed VaYimin Meluba Shebchinas Achorayim. That this level of Chesed and right is enclosed in Achorayim. Devarim Chitzenim. So what do you have to do? So the avodah is that you have to bring back bring it back to kedusha. As he says in the brackets, this idea that the right is enclosed in achorayim, hainu lemata, down over here. So the person goes after his taivus of the nefesh habahamis, he says the left is the right. Then he can have that the chitzenim now are getting this flow. Gam b'chinas heishiv ocher yemina zoking na b'vor b'malchamacher al p'nam ma'amar azer pashas vayikra daf chof inyan abeis amud beis kutshu bricha b'galusa sorok le'ela. Okay, v'hini inyan lo yishia yadei lo. What does that mean? Zo b'chinas yishia yimincha v'aneni B'Tehilim Siman Samach. V'Hainu K'Moshe Yisbar B'Di Ramas Chazina Hanal B'Inyan V'Sukkah Tiyah L'Tzel Yemim. Yemim Hainu B'Chinas Chesed L'Avram. B'Chinas Yemin L'Tzel Yemim Hainu B'Chinas Makiv Elin Shnimshach Al Chesed. Amshach Hazu B'Chinas V'Rav Chesed B'Chinas Ki Chofetz Chesed Hu. Zeo Yishir Yemincha. Shnimshach B'Chinas Makiv Elin L'Chinas Chesed. Drei Yemina. So this level of Makiv Elin comes Chesed by to Drei Yemina, which is Drei Yemina. Amshach Hazu Hu Memakim Elin Ma'id. It comes from a high level. B'Chinas the less smaller by Atika. There's no Gvura in Atik. Dezev Aneni Liyas V'Yemini Techavkini. V'Zeo in Sukkah. This is the idea of a Sukkah. Pretty much because of Priyas Chaim. Shar Chag HaSukkah is Perek Dalid. That's funny is HaSukkah is. So what's the minimum walls of the Sukkah? Shtayim Kil Chosan. You can have two proper walls. U'Shlishis Hafilu Tefach, and the third one is even a Tefach. So Derech Mashal Keneged Gimel Pirkei Yad Yamin V'B'Chinas V'Yemini Techavkini Aschach Zeo B'Chinas Tzel Yemim Hamak V'B'Chinas Yemin Ayin Sham. Appear in Gilei B'Chinas Yemini Shel Kadosh Baruch Hu B'Nefesh Adam. To understand this level of Yemini of Hashem in the Nefesh of Adam, Yuvin Mashnes Bar B'Dibra Maskal Tzeno Re'ena B'In Sui Dechem Kedesh Ayin Sham. Pashas B'Shalach Yemin Hashem Nadar B'Keir Do Dei Reisa. Okay, this is a lot of, he's referring to a lot of different Amorim. Shleimer K'Mashnes Bar L'Kamam, let's do it quickly and go back to the Pnim. Shleimer Shnes Bar L'Kamam B'Dibra Maskal B'Mashmini Atzeres B'Inyin V'Osim Dvarai B'Ficha V'Tzel Yodi Ksisicha. Shemnater Nasa B'Chinas Sukkah B'Chinas Tzel Nimtza Zok B'Chinas Tzel Yemim B'Chinas Yishei Yemilcha. V'Amenefesh Yuvim B'Chinas Zu Shater Nesen Eskech V'Ez B'Chinas Yemin V'Avas Hashem Shnes Bar B'Dibra Maskal B'Chinas Shlishi Hashlisu B'Inyin Shater Nikra Oz Ayin Sham. V'Zeo, this is a few more lines. V'Zeo Gam Yemin Hashem Tiratz Eiv. I know cold typhus Yitzhahara B'Nefesh Bahamas V'Tiratz Eisis Atzeres Gishmin Atzeres B'Chinas Mandas Kol Am Eretz K'Shnes Bar B'Dibra Maskal Hashem Li Beis. Okay, now back to the thing. V'Zeo Sham Razal, and this is what the Gemara tells us. Mitzvah lahavi min hahedyet. That in addition to the actual fire that Hashem brought down, there's still a mitzvah for us Yidden to make a fire. Pirush, what does it mean? Hedyet, what does it mean? The simple hainu dvarim atachtenim pshutim umimili dehedyet. It means the simple things and the words which are mundane. Hainu gashi yosim ha'adam ali beli. When a person actually contemplates and makes a cheshbon nefesh, all the regular things, and all the mashava, the dibur and the maisa, which is not for Hashem, which he had his whole life, and the say of how distant he is from Hashem and how like he has this disgustedness and abomination, which this is the level of the smell decha v'nikla eid mezeis. Shofar is a meis b'chayav. He's disgusted at where he was. And then he'll be very bitter. He'll cry to Hashem. It says in Eicha tzak libam, his heart cries. So being bitter. What does it mean? Mitzvah lahavi min hahedyet is that a person has to make a cheshbon nefesh of all the machshava zaras and all the machshava dibur ma'isa that was not for Hashem. Then he'll get very, very bitter. Miras hazayis miviyasei la'asei sachon la'ish l'mayla, and this bitterness will make a person come to make a preparation of the ish l'mayla. This is the level of loving Hashem from your nefesh alikis. Shittis eidud v'tislai b'libe canal, which will arouse the love. Okay, so what do we say? So we said this is the idea of zirei tzedakah. We said the yid is called tzedakah, and b'chlal Klal Yisrael are full of tzedakah. And the Seres Tshuva is the idea of zriya. And we said just like a seed needs to plant properly and needs to be on proper offer, so too. In order for the tzedakah to be effective, you have to break your heart and mashpel yourself like offer. And like we see that the only way a person will give tzedakah properly is if he doesn't hold highly of himself. And between Yom Kippur and Succos, that's the idea of tzmicha. That's the idea of planting, and then through the tzmicha, you get to the level of Avram. And that's the idea of Matzmiach Yeshuas, and then he brought down a lot of different like a lot of different lofty levels going on over here. And that's the idea of mitzvah l'havi min hahedyet, that you make a cheshbon nefesh, how distant you are, and how all the machshava divrei ma'aser was not for Hashem, and how you're very far from Hashem, and then you'll be very bitter. And this miriris is achana for the eish l'mayla. Okay, Gimel. This level is the fire which is on top of the mizbech. So you have the two levels of fire. So the level is the achana to get the eish l'mayla. But then you have even a higher level. What is that? Because this is the nisach hamayim that they would pour on Succos. What is water? Water quenches the thirst which comes from the level of fire. Fire makes a person thirsty, and the water quenches that. Which because like it says in Pasuk Yeshaya, you're thirsty, you go to water. And in the level of water, you have different levels. It says, you see today, the Pasuk in Vaschanan says, Hashem is in the heavens, there's nothing besides Hashem, with a clear riyah. You're at the level of like an entire bittul b'mitzias, that you have this level of riyah in the Eibishter. This level is called water, which makes cold and extinguishes the fire. Since he's at the level of total self-nullification to Hashem, automatically, once he has his bittul, so he'll cool down the fiery, natural fire that he had, that this kiddush beish. And he gives an example. Just like a father has a natural love to his son. So when the father wants to bring him close and he's still very distant, so then the Abba is like, it's very external. He screams, Abba, Abba, Father, Father. When the son is mamish next to the father, so he has this love. It's inborn, it's natural, it's there, but you don't see it. You don't see it externally because there's nothing he's demonstrating about this love. So that's why it's called the love of Mayim. That he, like, so to speak, cools down the fiery love that it should not reveal outside. It's hidden in the heart. So that's the idea of the fire. The fire, the Eish, is the burning love that a Yid has to the Eibishter. And then you have the Mayim, which is higher than the fire, which kind of takes the fire and keeps it inside. So then he says like this: and this is the idea of Shmoneh Esrei. Shmoneh Esrei is dafka quiet. Why? By Psukkah de Zimra, you arouse the love, the burning fire that you have, and you burn all the Eish Zada that a person accumulated. You're very distant from Hashem. So Psukkah de Zimra is you're burning. There's a fire going on. You're burning all the Eish Zada. You're still distant from Hashem. So that's the idea of the Eish. You're like standing in front of the king. Baruch Ata, saying Baruch you Hashem, bless you Hashem. Pirish, what does it mean Baruch? Baruch is like a brecha, it's like a pool. So it's there. You just have to bring it down. Hamshacha, you bring it down. You're bringing the yichud of Hashem down over here. Which is the level of bittul. That's why Chazal Institute also made him. I thank you, Hashem. Bittul, which is the level of bittul. They explain it in another place. This is the idea of bowing in Shmoneh Esrei, and also by Meidim. That's why it's very quiet. How do you, how does this level last the whole day? So a person he has to start making a cheshbon and a nefesh. He has to start explaining. After Shemon Esrei, person gets that excitement wears off, and he's back to where he was in the beginning. All of us. So what's the solution? Is learning Torah and halachas. Even though, what does Torah speak about? It speaks about dvarim gashmin. So the proper thing is that after davening, we should learn Gemara, learn Torah, learn halacha. Yeah. A person has to be totally bottle and one with Hashem. He should prepare. He should be prepared for the yichud of Hashem and mevatel himself, and all of his own wants should be pushed away. This level of involved in Torah is like Shemon Esrei. It's possible that this is going to be like etched and planted, and it's going to be like a stick. It's going to be lasting once he.
Like
nails, right? It sticks in. Doesn't. It's a pasuk in. So Rashi says in Yirmiyah. Rashi says on b'masmeris bal yimit. It's a lashon from Yirmiyah. It says Yirmiyah Dalet Yud Dalet. Okay, this is what it means on the 8th day. Atzeres should be for you. That you are able to bring in the water. So what does that Yishmin Atzeres is that you're taking all this Aveda and it's actually sticking. So you don't go back to where you were. This is through the level of Bina, Liba, level of Bina, heart. You have the level of Bittul from the depths of the heart. The fish is Galas Atik, Bina, since Atik is revealed Dafka and Bina, which is Elam Tainug, the world of Tainug. There's an Imshach, there's Atzeres, Uklitla, Lupinas Mayim. Right, so that's the idea. So the idea of the first 7 days, that's like the Nisach HaMayim, that's like the Avodah of Shemon Esrei, that you're taking the fire and you're cooling it down with the water. That the Ava should not be like the Ava should be more internalized, should be more like Mayim. But how does that Avodah last? I guess throughout the whole year, or that's the there Atzeres Tilachem. That idea of Torah after davening. So we're ready to start. 1, 2. This is what it means. And you're going to draw with water. You draw water b'sasim. What does that mean? The level of the water has to be from like a spring. When so like you have a spring, so the actual depths of the spring you don't really see it. But you know there's a source. A person has to, with his own aveda, has to dig with the depths of the spring. He goes to the depths. What does that mean? That he makes himself bottle. He goes depths and Teda and halacha, which is the level of Chacham Ilah. Shisa the chayla nimshach me'mekar chayim ha'elyenim. Ulamata yordu v'nashtalshem ma'id Hashem b'chinas metachas la'afar. Yanim gashmim zirayim me'id chulim yisham him nevim liyis ma'ina Yeshua. So you go take it from the level of chachmilah and it's drawn down into even metachas la'afar in dvarim gashmim zirayim me'id, and from there you're able to draw down from the level of ma'ina Yeshua. V'zeu ma'ayone today. What does it mean from the wells to Shem Bchinas, Shem Beis Bchinas? There's two levels. Bchinas v'nafshi kafar lakol tia, which is the level of bittul, and then Bchinas atera Shem leveshes ba'afar gashmim, the level of teda, which is meluvesh in dvarim gashmim. Ve'zeu dafka nikra Bchinas mayim chayim, and dafka through these two levels of bittul and teda, then you can come to the level of spring water, mayim chayim, ki hamayim asher pnei haaretz enim nikra mayim chayim ki yadua. So you know that water that is on the external part of the world, on the earth, that's not called chaim. Okay, then it gets the next is brackets or beer Indian.
The whole thing
is brackets, right? Okay, fine.